Well, hello everyone. It's Sibyl Star here to give the astrology forecast for the Libra New Moon. The Libra New Moon is at 3 degrees of Libra. Well, it's 2 degrees, 48 minutes. So we say 3 degrees on September 25th at 2:55 p.m. Pacific. And of course, at every new moon, we are setting the intention for the next 30 days. So this energy is really in effect for the next 30 days. And the culmination of the energy really is at the full moon, and then it starts to wane. The energy builds towards the full moon, then it starts to wane. So anyway, what is this Libra new moon about? Well, first off, let's just talk about the Libra archetype. Libra is very much about balance, and we just had the fall equinox on, depending where you were, on September 22nd or 23rd. And that is when light and dark are in balance, not everything, but light and dark are in balance. The days and the nights are equal. But we are moving into the darker time of the year where the days will become shorter and the nights will become longer. But Libra is about balance in so many ways. It's about the balance between male and female, doing and being, self and other, stillness and action, work and play, all the different areas of our life. Are we in balance? And there is a tarot deck that's called the Thoth deck or the Crowley deck. And the Libra card there is the is a Greek goddess Themis, and she's the ancient goddess of justice. And she's actually the Greek version of Ma'at. And she is balancing on the tip of the sword. And that is the place of balance. It's not that Libra is balanced, Libra is seeking balance. And so when Libra comes up, we're being asked, where are we out of balance in our lives? And we might get some insight at this new moon. And like I said, too, it's also the sign of Ma'at, and she brings in, cosmic law, balance, and universal truth. And she asks the question, is your heart in balance with Ma'at's feather of truth? Is your heart aligned with your deepest truth? Okay. And there's also a focus on relationships with Libra, because it is about the balance between self and other. And in the astrological wheel, it is where we meet the other. So, and more ancient times, when we would head into the darker time of the year, relationships really did become more important, because when the weather is good, it's the earth is abundant. In the dark, and by the way, this is for the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, it's just reversed. They're heading into spring, but here in the northern hemisphere, we're heading into the darker time of the year, and we need to work together to be able to survive that time. And Libra is very much about cooperation, harmony, balance, empathy, and it is a sign of serenity and inner peace. But the quickest way to get out of harmony is with unresolved conflict. That's why it's so important to deal with conflict as it comes up, because the shadow side of Libra is codependence and overcompromising and conflict avoidance. All right. So anyway, at this particular new moon, it's a very powerful new moon, because this new moon is conjunct what is called the Super Galactic Center. And conjunct actually means just right in alignment, like right there, right, like kind of integrated. Opposition is like a polarity, but a conjunct is when things are integrated and right next to each other. Okay. And it's also opposite Jupiter. Now, the Super Galactic Center is a black hole with more than 30 galaxies in it. It's very powerful, and some say it is the gateway to the source of creation. And the astrology king, this is what he has to say about black holes. Okay. So in general, black holes promote change and transition and can be challenging to work with. They represent a complete reversal of the status quo. They are doorways to parallel universes, alternate realities, and higher dimensions. Although ominous and threatening, they can also be repositories of vast riches and wealth of knowledge of the subconscious. Significant themes of black holes involve changeability, personal magnetism versus repulsion, extreme instability and unpredictability, a unique perspective, transmutation, and a greater than typical impact on one's environment or peers. They're also attracted of unparalleled, singular, often bizarre experiences. So they may attract some really strange experiences because it's a very different energy. It's energy from the cosmos that this new moon is it's a gateway that it is opening for us at this time. Now, this particular one, the Super Galactic Center, they say is connected to the law of attraction. That like attracts like. So this is the shift in consciousness, the cosmic knowledge that is coming through, how important this is that we are creating our reality at all times, and like attracts like. So that's why it's so important to keep your vibration high so that you attract higher vibrational experiences. If you are traveling in lower vibrational, especially emotional situations, you just continue to attract more. And so it's really important to, be aware of what is in your field and what you're putting out into the field, because you're going to attract it right back. And it's going to be super, what could I say, visible. Come into our conscious awareness of just how this really is happening, how reality really works, as we move away from so much polarity consciousness. Okay. Now, this is also opposite Jupiter, and Jupiter is the great benefic. And they're just really, Jupiter brings opportunity, it brings blessings, even with an opposition. With an opposition, it may be that blessings and opportunities come through another person, but it's still reminding us, and I think this is also part of the shift in consciousness that this Super Galactic Center conjunction is bringing, is that miracles happen every day. We just have to recognize them, and that opportunities abound with the attitude of gratitude. It changes everything. It's recognizing how life's treasures magically come to us through the cyclic process of giving and receiving, of being in that flow of giving and receiving, and saying thank you every day. Finding whatever blessings that we can and saying thank you, and how that actually will shift our consciousness and our experience, because it changes our vibration. All right, now there's another really significant aspect at this new moon, and it is Mercury retrograde, which is conjunct Venus and is opposite Neptune and square Mercury and Gemini. Okay, and so first let's just kind of break that down a little bit. So Mercury retrograde is conjunct Venus and opposite Neptune. This can bring confusion regarding communication as well as relationships. Neptune brings confusion. Venus is about relationships. Mercury is about communication. So confusion regarding communication is in our relationships. We may have fantasy thoughts about other people and think things that are just not true. And being square Mars, these misunderstandings can cause arguments. So with Mercury retrograde is telling us to think before we speak, and be aware that there is a whole lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding in the field right now, and it is our job to find the truth, because we're going to feel it. The facts just are not going to line up with what is actually true, or we're going to believe things that are facts that are not facts. All is not as it seems. And so on a collective level, it's potentially very confusing. And so it's really what I said, it's about relying on our own inner truth, as the external world is presenting many falsities right now. There is a lot of deception in the field. psychic warfare and mind control are in the collective field as we enter into, especially as we enter into the election season. So, it's always there, but it's particularly intense. So just simply don't believe, I would say, anything you hear until you find some way to validate it with your own inner truth. Okay. And of course, another manifestation that is happening with this, especially with Mars, is the extreme divisiveness we are seeing. And to know that it's being orchestrated. It is being orchestrated to keep the people in an us versus them mentality. While those in power stay in power, they're going to all stay in power. The goal is to keep us divided. So the important thing is to pay attention so you can see clearly what is happening, but not participate and feed this energy. Like I said, the truth will come from within. It will not come from without. So don't rely on outer sources to find your truth. Okay, because it's not there. Now, I do want to share something that I've become aware of recently, and I want to share with you. Is I've been studying some galactic history. We have our Earth history, and we are part of a greater galactic collective, and there is a history there. And so Mars right now is transiting through in Gemini, is transiting through the constellation of Orion. And, in our Milky Way galaxy, one of our main growth tools is polarity consciousness. We all made these agreements to, as part of the growth process, to separate from source or to individuate, not separate, because the source is always with us, but to individuate and we are here having our own egos. And so there is a separation, but there's also a return to source. And I feel like we are in the process, our ascension process that we're going through is a part of the return, but we're still kind of in the midst of straddling both. And so I want to just tell you a little bit about the story of Orion, because they went through the same ascension process, but before they did, they had many millions of years, actually, I don't know if it's millions of years, but a long time of this basically good versus evil morality play going on that we see everywhere. And that is polarity consciousness, is the good versus evil. And anyway, they say that there was terrible wars there that happened for many, many, many years. They had a great empire and the Star Wars movies, they say, are based on the Orion Wars. And Orion became the center of the most concentrated polarity consciousness in our galaxy. Okay, where this good versus evil story happened. And whether it's factual or whether it's archetypal, it's true. And we know it's true because the battle for good versus evil goes on, and because we're seeing echoes of it here. Okay. And so ultimately, though, what happened was, after fighting these wars, and of course they had, very, evil beings as well as very high frequency masters like the Jedi, like Obi-Wan, like Yoda, but what their spiritual masters came to the realization of, that the battle between good and evil takes place within each one of us. That it's about the integration of our own shadow material, to become to wholeness, and the integration of dark and light within ourselves, because when we don't integrate it within ourselves, we project it outwards, and then there is an enemy. So it is about loving our own imperfections, because the more we are whole, and the more we know that more that we love ourselves, we become whole, and we don't project that about ourselves that we cannot accept. Okay, so it's self-acceptance, self-love. That is the way to the integration of wholeness, and to not participate in this projection, which is all taking place outside of ourselves. Okay, so and that is when we must become the love and peace we want in the world, because there's no other way to make it happen. We can't fight for peace. We can't fight for love. We have to live love. We have to live peace. Okay. And so I feel like that's a big part of this is the integration of polarity. This is part of where we are right now, and this is a big piece of our own ascension process. And I also feel like with this aspect, it is there can be a shattering of the illusion, cutting through outside illusions and fixed perspectives, moving into truth and viewing life from a clearer perspective. Like I said, it's very foggy. It's hard to see it. The outer world is not going to reflect back to you the truth. The truth comes from within, and that's where you will see it. Okay. But because when we remove our projections, we can see the truth more clearly, and it does take courage. So it's important to open your mind and be willing to change your mind as more truth comes through. Truth brings peace of mind, even if it is difficult. Falseness creates a troubled heart. Okay. And often, the truth doesn't align with what we're being told. So that's when the confusion comes. Is trust your heart. It knows the truth. Okay. Trust your gut. That actually is, I think, is maybe even better. Your gut knows if something doesn't feel right, it's not. Okay. And to follow up on that. And it's also the shattering of illusion, not only of what is happening on Earth, but also a breakthrough in consciousness as we become more aware of the illusion of separation from Source, because we are all fractals of Source. And when we can remember that is when we start the journey back to wholeness. And to just remember, Mars is a catalyst. In this case, Mars is actually activating an awakening of consciousness. Now, we also at this time have 6 planets retrograde. Mercury is opposite Neptune. And this effects will last about 10 days from about September 25th to October 6th, due to Mercury going direct, basically directly opposite Neptune on October 2nd. So, so it's an extreme, the confusion at this time could be even higher. So listen to your inner guidance, trust it, and to know the outer world may not be making any sense. And we still have Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto retrograde, telling us to slow down, follow the energy, don't push. Pluto will go direct on October 8th. So we have some planets going direct this month, so that's good. Pluto will go direct on October 8th at 26 degrees of Capricorn. Saturn goes direct on October 22nd at 18 degrees Aquarius. And this is a really big one. Most of the outer planets I don't usually feel when they're retrograde or direct, but except for Saturn. And Saturn, I really can feel it. And then Mars goes retrograde. We're actually in the retrograde zone right now because Mars is getting ready to turn retrograde. It's going to go retrograde it's not in this new moon. So I'm really kind of projecting ahead to let you know what's coming. But Mars goes retrograde at Gemini 26 degrees on October 30th. But we're starting to feel it because it's in the retrograde zone. Mars is slowing down. Okay. And Mars in Gemini can be very intellectually curious, quick-witted, fast-paced, diverse, very busy. But when retrograde, the energy wants to slow the pace down so more focus can be attained. And with all these planets retrograde, it is really a time of self-reflection and not a time to make hasty decisions. Some good questions to ask yourself during all of these planets retrograde, while all these planets are retrograde, are, or what may come into your conscious awareness. Okay. What have I outgrown? What do I need to let go? And how do I let go of it? And what will bring more fulfillment to my life? I feel like there's a lot of self-reflection, self-reevaluation on many aspects of our life when all of these planets are retrograde. That's what the universe is asking of us. Okay. Now, of course, we also have the Saturn Uranus square. And they are now within a degree of each other. Uranus is at 18 degrees, Saturn is at 19 degrees, and they come within a few minutes of each other. It's not exact, but within a very few minutes of each other in mid-October. And so the pressure is building for these two. Okay, and I feel like the pressure will be released at the lunar eclipse that happens on November 6th, which is election day, because that eclipse is also conjunct Uranus and square Saturn. It's really going to be a big one. Um, but when these two planets come together, it's when the evolutionary need for change collides with the resistance to change and fear of change. But everything is changing. As I heard someone say once, when these two planets come together, change is inevitable. And it's so important not to hold on to the old, because the old is collapsing. A new paradigm is wanting to come into our reality. Conscious consensual reality is changing, or consensus reality. Saturn represents consensus reality. What we all agree upon is true, but nobody can agree upon any more of what the real truth is. That is because in the bigger reality, truth resides within, and each of us have a different perspective. Okay, everyone sees the world differently, and so there are many perspectives. Your truth lies within you, and it may not be the same truth for others, and it is important to recognize and honor that. And especially don't hang on to the old, because they say it's not change itself, but the resistance to change that is painful. And with the shattering of illusion on many levels, deeper levels of truth are being revealed. A new paradigm is being ushered in, which is about fluidity, letting go of control and following the energy. It is a new feminine embodied spirituality and energy that is flowing through, which is about fluidity. And so it's about anchoring your reality within your own consciousness as the external world is changing rapidly, and especially around the eclipses. We have an eclipse coming. Gosh, I don't remember the day. I think it's October 24th. It's at 2 degrees of Scorpio, and then we have the lunar eclipse. But these are some big eclipses, especially the lunar eclipse. And so it's about holding your spiritual center as both inner and outer self confronts and navigates change and conflict. Holding your spiritual center has nothing to do with ego, but is the place of personal power where you find inner peace. It's where you just simply know the truth and don't allow yourself to be taken off course. Okay, distracted. There's many distractions. Run here is kind of almost like Pavlov's dog. They ring a bell, and there's the media, the government, whatever. But the key is to stay centered within your own self, within your own truth. Okay, and I'm going to close with the Sabian symbol for this because it's so powerful for this new moon, and it is the dawn of a new day reveals everything has changed. It is so powerful. And that's what I'm sitting at here in front of this image of the dawn of a new day. It's here, it's coming. With this new moon, the collective consciousness has the potential to open and expand, with energies coming in through the Super Galactic Center, where it becomes so clear that it is our vibrational frequency that is creating the reality in which we live. Now, our collective is creating the larger picture, but our own world and how we respond to it is up to us. And everything is changing. Don't hang on to the old. Allow yourself to flow into the energy of the new paradigm while being anchored in your own consciousness, not the external world. And embrace the cycles of change that are happening. The tides of life are constantly shifting between the polarities of positive and negative energies. Your job is to keep centered and balanced while flowing with the rhythm of evolution. And we are on the cusp of a huge leap in spiritual evolution, and flow with it, leap with it, jump with it. Let the old go, because the new is here. All right. Wishing you all a wonderful month of this Libra new moon. And if you like this video, please check like and subscribe, and sign up for my newsletter, because I send it out frequently, and different updates on it. And if you're interested in a reading, my contact information is in the description box below. Namaste. Have a wonderful month.